First quarter earnings are expected to be lousy, but the stock market may not care. The worst earnings season in nearly 3 years is about to begin, but stock strategists say the market should be able to look right past declining profits and continue to reach for all-time highs, as long as trade talks between the US and China continue to show progress. Stocks were higher in the past week, on the prospect that the trade talks would ultimately lead to a deal that could end punitive tariffs and boost earnings growth. The S&P, among the first major companies to report, are JP Morgan Chase and as for earnings, Refinitiv expects a 2.2% decline in first quarter profits for the S&P 500 companies, but those lower results are expected to be the trough. Earnings growth is safe. Kian said there are risks, including whether there really is a trade deal with China over the next couple of weeks and whether China's economy is really bottoming. Strategists said any number of factors could be the catalyst to push stocks to records, including earnings season. If companies beat lowered guidance and their outlooks are good, stocks could also high. Also in the week ahead, investors are watching for the minutes from the Fed's last meeting, released Wednesday afternoon. At that meeting, on the data front, there are CPI consumer inflation data Wednesday and producer price inflation on Thursday. Both of these indexes. The UK's effort to leave the European Union will continue to make headlines in the week ahead. The European Union, 10:00 a.m. Factory orders, earnings Shaw Communications, Price Smart, Levi Strauss, WD-40. 6:00 a.m. NFIB SERP, 9:30 a.m. Fed Vice Chair, 10:00 a.m. Jolts 5:00 p.m. Fed Vice Chair, earnings Delta Airlines, MSC Industrial, Bed Bath & Beyond. 10:00 a.m. Wholesale trade, 11:50 a.m. Fed's quarrels, 1:00 p.m. 10-year option. 2:00 p.m. Federal budget, 2:00 p.m. FOMC min, earnings Fastenal, Apogee, Rite Aid. 8:30 a.m. Initial claims, 8:30 a.m. PPI 9:30 a.m. Fed's Clarita, 9:35 a.m. New York Fed, 9:40 a.m. Kansas City Fed, 2:00 p.m. Minneapolis Fed, 4:00 p.m. Fed Governor Michelle, earnings JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, First Republic Bank, Infosys, PNC. 8:30 a.m. Import prices, 10:00 a.m. Consumer sentiment.
Raindrop, drip, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that.